today we're dealing with a lot of people who think they know more than we do. We also have to remember that, because we know this from the calls that we audit, that people ask a lot of silly questions, you know? And so training yourself to resist the urge to answer those questions is really essential. They don't know what to ask us. And I think part of it is because they don't expect to have to know what to ask us. And so if we put it all in perspective, engagement helps us get to the root of what they were really calling for.
This is Dental All Stars, where we bring you the best in dentistry on marketing, management, and training. Here's your host, Alex Nottingham.
Welcome to Dental All Stars, and we have Larry Guzzardo, our head instructor, with us. Yay! And we're talking about engaging patients on the telephone, and this speaks to our great call process. So for our members, you all know what this is. You come to our seminars, we talk about it ad nauseum. It is the backbone of our phone skills training and many other systems. It's a great call process that Heather Nottingham, the phone skills instructor, developed. And many of you know the story. If you don't, make sure you see Dental Practice Excellence, the webinar. I talk about the story of how that great program, the great call process, was born. We'll put a link into that. The great call process. So Larry, I'm going to quiz you. What is the great call process?
Well, the
What does
great
it stand for?
the great call process is an acronym for great. It starts with greeting, rapport, engage, ask for the appointment, and take notes. And so it's a
Take notes?
real
No. Well, close.
right.
Take information. Close
Oh,
enough.
take information. Take information. But my point here is that it's an outline for a conversation that you can have with anybody.
Right.
And there's very specific reasons why it's done this way.
Yep.
Number one is we didn't want you to have to memorize a script. We want you to memorize the outline, and you could say whatever you want, but we didn't want you to feel like you had to memorize something because we knew that would throw everybody off if they had to
Yep.
do that. So that's what great call stands for.
That's right. And we're going to spend some more time on engaging the patient. And so, Larry, tell me about engaging and why it is so. Well, before I even get to engaging, this is a very important caveat. Heather will make sure that we're in trouble if we don't mention it. You have to go in order with the great call process. And
Yes, she is
often
correct.
people make the mistake that they go to, even though engage is probably it's a very powerful step. Heather would argue rapport is the most powerful. And when we talked about the DISC profile and personality types and understanding people, we would all agree rapport is critical. You can't do that. So you got to make sure that you greet them properly. And we have certain sub-elements with greeting. And you have to build great rapport, wonderful rapport. And when you have that, then you have some fun with engage. Because typically when people call you, they're asking, what do you charge for veneers or dental implants or whitening? And most people were taught the polite thing to do is answer the question.
To the question. Yeah.
And a lot of people will teach, don't answer, manipulate, and lie and do whatever, or just don't answer it. That would also frustrate people. But the problem is if you answer it, then they already commoditized you and they're going to call and may not make an appointment. So what do? And so we will answer them in the engage section, but we have to get to know them first. We want to make sure we're thorough and we're answering the right question.
We'll answer them, right. We'll
In
answer them
context.
when it's appropriate.
Correct.
Because the great call is like a recipe. There's a reason why things are added in the order that they're added into, because it creates the flavor that you're trying to have for your guests. And so it's the same thing. We're trying to create comfort with the person that we're talking to on the phone. I'm a firm believer that when people call you, it's because they want to make an appointment. It's just that sometimes we don't follow the steps in the right order. And so it doesn't create the comfort with the caller to feel like we're the right people for them. And so they don't make an appointment.
And there's this idea of framing. Everyone is trying to frame someone else into their paradigm or into typically it's going to be a commodity, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're this price, you do this thing. And as you would often say, we're not retail in dentistry,
No.
right? We are a service-based program, and most offices want to be service-based. And so we have to make sure and help break the patient from their, how would you call it, their hypnosis, right? Of and we, our brains do this naturally. We try to simplify things. This is this much. This person works this way. But when we have a relationship with them and we see that they look at us as humans if we're answering the phone and them, and we have a rapport, then the magic can happen. If you're calling Best Buy and you're just trying to get, I mean, what's the difference between Best Buy and Amazon? Well, there isn't in price typically, but Best Buy you can come to. You can talk to somebody. It was interesting. I find these and this was an good example of rapport and service. I like to buy these pre-made meals because I guess I'm lazy and I don't want to cook. And I end up
You
eating
are. It's
crap.
against my religion that you would do
Yeah.
that.
And so, but these are all organic. And one place delivers all organic, they say. But I went to
Mm.
this place, and not only can you pick your meals, but if you come, you also they get to meet you. They do free coaching on diet and so on. And I know what I'm doing with it, I believe, but it's nice to have that relationship. And I'm like, wow, that's included. So they got me. It's a human relationship now. So now not only is it the food, but that's an individual. I don't want to disappoint them. I want to have a relationship with them. The same thing we talk about with broken appointments. When it comes to cancellations, why would you cancel? You won't cancel on your hairdresser. Hairdresser. I stumble because I don't have hair and it upsets me. So the why would you not cancel on him or her, but you will your dental office because you may not have that relationship with them. And so on the phone, we have such a short moment to create that relationship that we that's our opportunity, and we have to make sure we're not commoditized, and that's where the greeting and rapport come into. So let's assume we've done our greeting and rapport properly. Tell me about engaging.
Yep. Yep. Well, today we're dealing with a lot of people who think they know more than we do. So obviously, you're going to talk to a know-it-all differently than you're going to speak to somebody who is actually taking notes and listening to you. We also have to remember that, because we know this from the calls that we audit, that people ask a lot of silly questions, you know, and so training yourself to resist the urge to answer those questions is really essential. They don't know what to ask us, and I think part
That's a
of it
good
is
point.
because they don't expect to have to know what to ask us. And so if we put it all in perspective, engagement helps us get to the root of what they were really calling for.
Right.
It's all about the comfort level. The greeting, yes, it's because you want to demonstrate to them that you're friendly and things like that. But psychologically, it also slows them down
Oh,
because
good
many
point.
times when they call on the phone, they start with, "Are you open on Sunday? Do you treat dogs? Has your doctor ever been arrested?" And then
Treat dogs.
right, but you get thrown off and you think, "Oh my gosh, I got to answer these questions." Yes, no, maybe, well, don't believe everything you say, and the dog wouldn't lay down and all that. Conversation doesn't make any sense. So my point is, if we put it in perspective, the greeting slows them down. We also know that tone of voice is really, really important if you're going to engage with somebody. Even though we don't like to admit it, I know that every single listener here has called the customer service department. And before those people even said hello, they've already made a decision as to whether they think they got the right person or not. So the greeting also gives the caller the opportunity to hear our voice. It gives them the opportunity to do a little bit of a sound check. Like, "Oh, I can't hear you. Oh, maybe it's because my dog is barking in the background, or maybe my baby is crying in the other room, or I have the radio up too loud, or maybe it's because I'm at the fast food drive-through and I'm ordering my lunch while I'm calling you." You know what I mean? People don't give a lot of thought to calling our office. They just do it when the spirit, kind of hits them, and so they make the calls. So the greeting does a little sound check, slows them down a little bit. It gives them a little bit of an opportunity to hear what you sound like. Going right into rapport is important. And again, I'm glad that you brought up you have to do these things in order, because when you develop rapport with somebody, it now gives them the flexibility. It creates likability, and that's where the flexibility comes from. It's like, I was hoping I'd get the right person on the end of the line, and it sounds like I do. And now that I see we've got something in common, I like this person a little bit more. So that's why engagement comes now and not at the beginning, because now this is when we're going to start to talk to this person. Because this individual might have called earlier and says, I need to get in and see the doctor. I'm having a toothache. And our tendency is to think, oh, okay, let's just mess up the whole schedule and get you in right now. Where we haven't engaged with the patient to actually find out, well, what kind of an emergency is this?
Right.
You know what I mean? We know from experience that people tend to exaggerate their condition because they don't think they're going to be able to get in very fast. They think it's going to be weeks or months before they can get this toothache addressed. But if we slow them down a little bit, we're like, I'm glad that you called. We're going to take care of you. I'm disappointed to learn that you're not feeling good, but I'm glad that you gave me a call. Tell me about this toothache. Now we let this person talk, and then those questions come out. Well, have you tried anything else? Have you talked to anybody else about this? How long has this been going on? But letting them talk now makes them feel more comfortable with you, because that's a way of helping them to relax. Emotionally, it also helps them because they feel like, Alex, you're listening to me. Nobody else was listening to me. Everybody else is telling me what to do. It's the same thing. You call an office and you say, I'd like to get an appointment to come and see you. Well, can you come this afternoon? How about tomorrow? We'll send out an Uber, that kind of thing. We're starting to make decisions without their input. See, there's no engagement there. And then offices wondered, like, why did I get the breaks from this person as soon as I gave them what they said they wanted? Well, there's a difference between what they want and what they say they want, because I don't want to be too, voodoo woo-woo here. But people want connection with other people. That's what all human
Yeah.
beings want. And if
Sure.
I think about your office, you want to connect with the people that you treat. And so engagement is what allows them to speak. Now you can ask questions based on what they've told you. You see, they're not suspicious about those questions because they're the one who brought it up. My tooth is aching. Tell me about that. Well, it happens when I do this. It happens when I do that. Have you tried anything for it? They're not suspicious of it. They don't think something is going on with your motives. Unfortunately for us today, people are cynical and they're distrustful and they're suspicious, and they've been like what you've said. They've been manipulated before, and they got talked into doing things that they didn't want to do. Now, all of a sudden, they're realizing, well, this other person on the line here who understands the recall process isn't doing that at all. Because the other thing that we're trying to do is we want patients to choose for themselves what's appropriate for them. Because when people choose
Right.
for themselves, they now commit. Now they listen to details. Now they pay attention to instructions. Now they refer to our practice. And so engagement is very, very important because it increases their comfort level with us. It allows us to ask questions that doesn't create suspicion. It doesn't create distrust. Like, what are you up to? You know what I mean? Like if we start with, well, do you have insurance? Where do you think those little suspicion meters that people have? They're going to go on high alert. They're going to say, well, why is that important? Why don't you just ask them how much money they had, in their bank account? My point is if you let them talk and you ask questions based on what they say, they don't become suspicious. They don't become cynical. They don't become distrustful. Matter of fact, they start to not even like you more. They trust you more. Like, I've got to go to this person because this person listened. It's all about emotion, but they paid attention. And then in the end, when you make a decision about what's going to be best for them, they're going to respect it because the patient senses, I've had my say so. Everybody else was telling me what I had to do. Well, that would be great. But remember what I said earlier. We're dealing with people today who think they know more than you do. And you talk to know-it-alls differently. Know-it-alls want to make up their own mind. They want to make their own decision. But when they do, it's locked in. You can
Right.
count on them for that. You can take that to the bank. If they haven't made up their own mind and they feel like you just talked them into something, or you told them what they needed, like you need x-rays, you need an exam, you need whatever, then if you're having a problem with broken appointments and new patients, I won't be surprised. Is that we lost it right in the engagement.
Yeah, I'm thinking that you could do engagement wrong. Well, two ways. Or two parts to one way. First is you do engagement too quickly. They call, they ask a question, and you do a couple things. One, you answer them too quickly
Yep,
without
too
putting it in
quickly.
context. Or you can be combative or subversive. You're not answering the question. You're interrogating them. Well, what about this? What about that? What about that? I mean, you also, I like what you said is you want to slow them down. That's part of the transition statement
Yeah.
we do in the greeting. You want to slow them down. You'd like to slow them down and make them feel welcome and slowly draw the control without them knowing to you, because you know what you're doing. They don't. They're just going by programming. I'm calling. I have an urge. Let me use. We talked about a disc in another situation. Let me use my
Yep,
personality profile.
the line
I could
here
be
at the
a
coffee shop,
right.
right, the line here at
I
the
could
coffee shop is too long. Let me call the dentist while I'm
right,
waiting.
and whatever that might be, and so it's making sure that we're engaging at the right time, and that, so I like what you say, we're slowing them down first and then getting to build a relationship, okay, that can set them up for a great experience. They leave going, wow, that was I have a connection. If you don't make a connection with that person, you're not going to stand out. You're going to be commoditized, and we really can't get to what, that's the other thing too, is a lot of offices, and these are, when we have these discussions, we can kind of analyze where are areas that we can improve. What is the vision? What do we stand for in our practice? We might say, oh yeah, we're all about customer service. Do we talk about it? That's what's nice about the, plug for All Star. It was nice about online training little by little is you keep reinvigorating yourself with that purpose being customer service training and being proactive on the phone with an intention of what you're looking to do, not just reacting to everybody's calling and what's going on, and being able to respond to that. How can we promote more engagement in the
Well,
practice?
I think a good way is to start anticipating many of the questions that you probably get. Matter of fact, I would ask every department in the office, hygiene, dental assistants, front office or whatever, what are the 5 most common questions that you can just automatically anticipate that you're probably going to get, and I would ask them that. So that way you can start to think about what your answer is going to be. Particularly, I would say for the front desk, what do you do about broken appointments? How do you handle those situations? How do you handle it when somebody's going to change their appointment? What do you do when they ask that insurance question right off the bat? You know what I mean? And so let's start to anticipate, how do we want to answer those questions? Because one thing we do know, and we've talked about it in lots of our sessions, is behavior is predictable. We almost can always predict how somebody is going to respond in a certain situation. And so anticipate those things. And then learning good communication skills are important. Communication techniques, not scripting, not like, oh, if they say this, you say that. It doesn't work like that. I'm talking like techniques like acknowledging the person when they've said something. Somebody asks you a question and you respond by acknowledgement. Oh, I can help you with that. I didn't answer their question, but I've acknowledged, because you're sending a signal to that person, I heard you. And so emotionally, that person feels like I'm comfortable, because emotionally we love it. It's human nature when we feel like we're being acknowledged, we're being listened to. But it also means, I think I like you a little bit too. I don't know you, but I'm enjoying talking to you already. So learning the technique of acknowledgement, don't answer before you answer the question, think of it like a cushion. I can help you with that. I'm glad that you brought that up. That's a good question, that kind of thing, have awareness. people always think they're very clear. It's, again, human nature. I'm guilty of it myself. I feel like the thing that I just said was perfectly clear, but often I don't get the answer that I was looking for. And it's because what I said and what you heard was probably two different things, or probably what I thought I said is different than what I was anticipating. So again, another technique is that we use awareness, you know what I mean? So we make sure that we answer the right question. That's very important. And so in acknowledgement, I'm letting you know I heard you. So I'm saying that's a good question. I can answer that for you. In awareness, we're saying, but let me see if I understood what you said. Are you asking whatever? You know what I mean? Like somebody might call your office and they might want to know, um, do you guarantee your work? Well, there could be a lot of different things that they're actually asking there. And we don't know what it is until we get into engagement. But if I just answer that, no, we don't provide a warranty, or if I go into all of that, you're going to get a hang up, right? Because the person didn't get the answer that they were looking for. Whereas in awareness, you might consider, Ms. Jones, you were asking me about a warranty, and I'm wondering, are you curious about how long our procedures last? Yeah, because which is completely different than a warranty. If you're following me here. So we use the technique of acknowledgement to let the person know that I listened to you. Emotionally, it calms you down, makes you feel good about the person that you're talking to. We use awareness to verify, did I hear you correctly? And what I like about this kind of technique when you use it in engagement is that I could be completely wrong about what I thought I heard, but I'll guarantee you this, the listener or the caller will never be upset with you because you gave them the opportunity to clarify themselves. But I'll tell you this, you answered the wrong question because you what you thought you heard and what they thought they said were two different things. You're going to have a very frustrated caller on the other end of the line if they just don't hang up. You know what I mean? So having some good techniques helps you with engagement. But notice this isn't about scripting, and it's really not about like what you said. I'm also asking, if you notice, a lot of open-ended questions. Tell me about, describe this for me, explain when that happened. How long has this been going on? You know what I mean? I'm not asking them questions where they could answer yes or no. Because if they do, then I have to ask more questions. And then they start to feel like they're being interrogated. And when they feel that way, they start to get suspicious. What are you up to? Are you just looking for somebody who's going to spend a lot of money? You know what I mean? People just have that way of going negative when they get suspicious. So you can enhance engagement by having some good techniques of acknowledgement, of awareness, of getting good at asking open-ended questions. You get good at asking open-ended questions when you start to anticipate. I get questions like this all the time, and so I know how to answer them. Or because I get these questions all the time, I'm wondering if that's what you really meant, not what you said, kind of thing. So that's how you can enhance engagement and make it easier for them. You're just listening to them, and you're making sure that I understood what it is that you're actually looking for. Now I can make a decision. How quickly do I need to get this person in? Is this the kind of emergency where I have to interrupt the schedule to get this person in? Or is it really the kind of emergency that could wait a couple of days? The person needs to be seen, but not right away. The beauty here is in this particular situation, when you're following the great call process, the patient is actually more relaxed with you. And if what I said earlier made any sense, people tend to exaggerate their condition because they don't think they're going to be able to get in very quickly. See, all the dental assistants know what I'm saying because they jump, through hoops to, get the chair set up and everything all ready to go and everything. And they sit down with the patient. And they go, well, tell me how long this has been going on. And the patient goes, well, 6 months ago, I was eating an ice cube and I cracked my tooth. And the patient's like, 6 months ago? And we're rushing to get you in today. But you see, They told the people at the front desk, I'm in this horrible pain. You know what I mean? You need to get me in right away. And we set off all the alarms. Whereas if you talk to the patient, you might realize, well, there's no blood involved. There's no acute pain that's keeping you up at night or keeping you from going to work. There's no swelling. You know what I mean? Not the kinds of things that tell us this is an emergency where you've got to be seen today. But if you listen to the person, remember with rapport and engagement, they feel more comfortable with you. When you say, hey, I'm hearing what you have to say. And you know what? You're right. The doctor does need to take a look at this. And when I look at his schedule today, I notice that, you might be here 8 or 9 hours before he could get to you. But when I look at the schedule tomorrow, I notice that you could be seen promptly at 9 o'clock. And I'm wondering if that wouldn't work better. Well, for the person who is now relaxed, is calmed down, realizes you've been listening to them, they kind of know they were exaggerating things earlier. You know what I mean? To get them in sooner. Getting in tomorrow or maybe the day after, that makes sense. But you wouldn't get the person to agree to that if they were in a high emotional state. And if that high emotional state was, I have a toothache and I need in today, you're not going to win this unless the person calms down, relaxes, feels flexible. Tomorrow will work. I didn't really want to have to leave the office right now anyway. I just said all that because I needed to get in. If I'm making any sense. So the process actually works in your favor, but you have to honor the process. You
Honor
can't
the process.
skip a step. Yeah, you can't skip a step. You got to do it in the correct order because if, let's say, for instance, I want you to wait till tomorrow, but you're really thinking I'm coming in today, but you haven't developed rapport with the patient. You think they're going to develop the flexibility to consider waiting until tomorrow? They're too rigid. And they're like, no, I got to come in today. You're the dentist. I heard that you've got to see me when I say I want to be seen. I don't care about your kid's soccer game. You know what I mean? Dinner with your wife, walking your dog, whatever it is that you have to do. You're going to have to get me in there today. But when they're feeling flexible, your idea sounds appealing to them.
Well, Larry,
so that's how these things work in our favor.
It was a pleasure listening to you today. And remember, everybody, to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Get the episodes as they are released. Share with your friends. Thank you, Larry Guzzardo, head instructor, All-Star Dental Academy.
Always
Until
a pleasure.
Next time, go out there and be
an all-star.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Dental All-Stars. Visit us online at allstardentalacademy.com.